Hey guys, how are y'all doing? So, I'll wash my face while I'm talking to you guys. I wanted to come on here this evening and talk to you guys real fast about something that we are going to be doing on my Facebook tomorrow, and I was going to invite you guys. So, for those of you guys that don't know, I have a Facebook page called Discovering Nicole Pludre, okay? And tomorrow at 11 a.m., I'm going to do a live stream, and we're going to talk all about the mental barriers, okay, that addicts and alcoholics face when trying to get sober, okay? Hey, what's up? So I have just recently started reading out of this book called Understanding the Addict, Understanding Your Addicted Loved One and Staying Sane at the same time. Understanding your addicted loved one and helping them and staying sane. So in that book, I have been reading some really good information, and I just recently got to the chapter where it's talking about how to talk to your loved ones that have addiction, okay? Well, in that chapter, it's giving us these, I think it's like 5 or 6 mental barriers that addicts and alcoholics face whenever we're trying to get sober. And guess what the number one is? The first one. Fear. Fear. Hey, Lynette. Hey, guys. Fear is the first one. So, I thought, you know what, that's a great topic to talk about here on TikTok. Let me go live and talk to them about fear really fast. So how many of you guys, before you got sober, how many of you guys experienced debilitating fear, right? I'm talking about fear while you were still getting high. Fear that your drug dealer wouldn't have dope when you called him. Fear that you were going to get caught when you were driving home after picking up, right? Fear that you wouldn't have enough for the next day, right? Come on now, give me some fears. I know y'all got some. A lot of good advice from you. Video on how to talk to them. Good, that's awesome. I'm so glad that that it's helpful. Fear that your dealer might get arrested and then you won't be able to get any anymore, right? Our lives, when we are in active addiction, are consumed by fear and anxiety, okay? Why do we keep doing it then? Why do we keep doing it whenever we know that it's not good for us and it's not even enjoyable? It's not even fear of being robbed. Good one. Good one. Fear that I wouldn't have enough till payday. There you go. And we would literally live our lives like that. That was an everyday occurrence to just be in that state of permanent fear, right? Now, let's shift gears and talk about the fear that you feel before getting sober. Fear that I was going to get pulled over and have drugs on me? Yep. Now tell me this. What fears did you have about trying to get sober? Fight or flight mode? Yep. So let's say you're thinking about getting into recovery, okay? What are some of the fears that you face whenever you are thinking about trying to get sober? Okay? So let me think. Fear of failing at recovery. Fear of the unknown. Fear of withdrawal. Fear of detox. Fear that you won't like yourself sober and neither will anybody else. Fear of being sick. There you go. Fear of withdrawal, there you go. Fear of the emotions, yeah, feeling the emotions. Hell yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Fear of the emotions. Fear of not being able to stay sober. Good job, Becky, good job. Yeah, y'all got it. When you spend all day, every day looking and getting it, then what do you do with your day afterward? Honestly, well, we would just be like, fear of being in a social setting, yep. Fear of changing my mind. And these are all things that we have to go up against mentally when we're trying to get sober, okay? These are the deterrents that we face when we are wanting to get sober. So, what do you do? How can you help your loved one or your friend or whoever if they are trying to get sober and they say to you, Donna, I'm just so afraid of the withdrawal. I don't think that I can make it through. How am I going to be able to get sober and stay sober if I can't even get through the withdrawal? Now, let me just tell y'all something, okay? That is probably the number one comment that I get from people when they reach out to get help is fear of withdrawal, okay? Fear of withdrawal. I mean, I've even had people straight up tell me, if I have to withdraw, I'm not doing it. Straight up. Straight up. And I'm like, damn! You know what I mean? And so what do you do then? Well, if they're an opiate addict, this is what I do. I lay it down straight for them. I say, listen, you can do this. You can go to detox and go into residential and let them handle it. You can do, abstinence-based recovery, go through detox, do it there medically, and then go into residential treatment. Or we can do medication-assisted treatment. Hey, Stephanie. And I tell them the choices. There is methadone, and then there is Suboxone. Methadone you can get on immediately. Suboxone you have to go through at least, usually about 3 days of withdrawal before we can induct you onto Suboxone. Okay, and usually I can help somebody, they can make a choice then. But the fear of not knowing what's going to happen when we get sober, it's totally normal, dude. Like, when I tell you, when me and Neil got sober, do you want to know what my biggest fear was? Oh! When me and my husband got sober, my biggest fear, besides not getting my son back, was that that my husband was going to fall out of love with me. That my husband, when I got sober and he got sober, that he wouldn't love me anymore. And then I would be just like up shit creek without a paddle, And I can remember like vividly thinking about my husband falling out of love with me. It was a really scary feeling to have. Anyway, that didn't happen, and I'm very grateful. But if you're somebody who has a loved one who's struggling with active addiction, and you are thinking like, damn it, why won't they just get sober? Or, gosh, they are really just dragging this out. I hope that you will come tomorrow to our live stream meeting on Facebook, because I think you will really enjoy it, and this live will give you a lot of insight to what addicts and alcoholics go through mentally in our minds, you know what I mean, when choosing recovery. It's not like a decision where we just say, you know what, I'm choosing to get sober, I'm choosing recovery. Like, it is, we go through a lot of things in our mind. And, talking about all the stuff that we were afraid of while we were using, it makes you think like, how could that be fun? How could you enjoy that time, when you were afraid all the time? And it makes me think like about all the anxiety I had, Hey, Arabella, what's up, girl? So the live tomorrow is going to be over on my Facebook. The Facebook account is called Discovering Nicole Pludre. I'll put it in the comment section. I think there is a link to it in my bio, and I would love to have you guys over there. As soon as I put this face gear on, I'll pull it up on my computer so y'all can see. And I also want to show you this book, okay, that I'm reading out of, because it's so good. So good. Like, it's got me excited about it. Yeah. Satan wants us constantly in fear. That's crazy that you said that, because that's what we are doing. When we are in active addiction, we are in a constant state of fear. When we're in active addiction, what are we doing? We're doing what the devil wants us to do. We're doing negative shit. We're doing drugs, right? And so that makes total sense, doesn't it? Isn't that crazy? I never thought about that. Have you guys? I have never really thought about that. So now that I am, it's like it goes hand in hand, Now that I'm sober and I have this freedom and I have this happiness, it's almost like I don't know what to do with myself some days, you know? I gotta brush my teeth too, you guys. Oh, yeah. So whenever I first got sober, I'll tell you like this. I was so awkward, okay? It was like I would tell everybody that I came into contact with my whole life story. I was an oversharer. And it was because I didn't know how to communicate. I had spent so many years in active addiction that when it was time for me to get sober and stay sober, I had to relearn how to communicate with people. You know? Is that you? Yeah. And so I would either not talk at all or talk way too much. And the one time, me and my husband were in Kroger, right? And there was this lady, she was in the aisle, and she worked for Kroger. And somehow I got into a conversation with this lady about mental health medications. And the next thing you know, I went from telling her about being on Lexapro to telling her about having my son taken away from me by CPS to telling her about how long I had been sober. You know, all in one swoop. And that was a normal, everyday occurrence for me in early recovery. You know, I still do it a little bit, but not like I used to. I used to do it too much, you know. I've learned how to tame it down. But yeah, that's what we're going to be learning about tomorrow, are the mental barriers that addicts and alcoholics face when choosing recovery. Now, why am I reading these books about how to help addicts? Well, because I help addicts all day long, and I'm always trying to learn new things that can help me be better, to be of better service to people. So, like, just because I'm a drug addict and I know what helps people and I know what helps me, doesn't mean that I can't improve or learn more. You know, you see what I'm saying? And so that is why I choose to do this and learn more. Hey, what's up, you guys? Let me get my computer so I can show you guys. Love you, Nate. Paco, what are you doing in my spot? Pockety knockety got in my spotty. Okay. All right, here we go. So, Neil, when you got sober, were you afraid that I might fall out of love with you?
It didn't cross my mind, but I think I quickly was like, you know,
that ain't gonna happen.
That's probably not gonna happen, so I just need to get it out of my head. But yeah, it did.
Yeah, me too. That was one of my biggest fears, was that you were not gonna love me anymore and that you were gonna want to divorce me, you know? Mm-hmm. Me and my husband, we got sober at the same time together. So when we got sober, our son had gotten taken away from us. I'm glad you found me too, Lynette. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Mallory, what's up? The certificate gives you verifiable credibility. Exactly. Let me show y'all the Facebook where we're going to be at. So over on my Facebook account, my main account, my personal account, it's totally restricted to where I can barely do anything on it. So I'm so angry about it, you guys. It's like makes me so mad. But anyways, this is where we're going to be doing the live at. Discovering Nicole Pludre. Okay? And then I'm going to read to you guys what I was just telling you guys about fear. Okay? So listen up, y'all. Listen up. Hey, Hot Mess. I'm doing good, girl. What about you? So listen to this. I want y'all to really listen when I read this, please. Okay? I really want y'all to listen. Fear. The addicted mind is constantly consumed with fear and anxiety. And tell me that this book ain't lying. It is crazy how real this is, okay? So here I go. Let me put y'all like that. Oh, put y'all up against my husband. Okay, he's going to hold y'all. There we go. Okay, it says fear. It says the addicted mind is constantly consumed with fear and anxiety. This is due to fears around what will happen to them as their problems mount and life continues to fall apart. But it's also due to the effects of addictive substances on the brain. As we discussed in Chapter 5, addictive substances push the feel-good chemicals, neurotransmitters, in the brain up to super high levels, and when the drugs wear off, these chemicals rebound down to abnormally low levels. The resulting ultra-low levels result in depressive symptoms, including pessimism and negative outlook, as well as anxiety. As such, when they're not intoxicated, addicts tend to be ridden with feelings of impending doom, excessive worry, and anxiety. To make matters worse, the brain also responds to the effects of the addictive substances by engaging its stress and panic mechanism, which results in the release of high levels of stress hormones, especially cortisol and adrenaline. The overall result is a constant state of fear and arousal in the brain that's only worsened by a perilous life situation. Many of the fears that plague the addictive mind cause addicts to fear recovery and drive them to avoid anybody or anything that tries to come between them and their drug. The specific fears that present a barrier to readiness for recovery include fear of withdrawal and detoxification, fear of living life without our drug. How will I deal with life without drugs or alcohol? Fear of the unknown. What's going to happen to me in treatment? Fear of giving up control and giving themselves over to the care of others. What if treatment is too hard and I need a drink? Fear that their life is such a train wreck that life in recovery will suck. Fear of failure at recovery. Fear of being exposed as an addict and being branded by stigma, and fear of arrest and otherwise having to take responsibility for our past actions, like, paying fines and fees and shit like that. Telling someone our fears has a remarkable calming effect, especially if that person is someone who cares. When you've taken care to establish yourself in your addict loved one's eyes as someone who's safe and understanding to talk to, they may decide to come to you to unload. That's a huge step forward, and you can help it along by letting the addict know that yours is an understanding ear. So, I really like this. I suggest making it known that you've done some reading and research. So he's talking to the loved ones of an addict, okay? I would let it known that you have done some research and have an understanding of addiction and what addicts go through, that you have knowledge about addiction detox and recovery programs. People nowadays, especially young people, place a lot of emphasis on facts and valid information. This book will give you some facts and information that will ring true for the addict. However, it's best to make sure that you say that you understand and are willing to listen and learn, not that you know what they're going through. Listen to this part. Addicts will always say, only an addict understands an addict, and they tend to be offended when non-addicts say, I know what you're going through. Say it ain't so. That is so true. When I was in active addiction, my mother used to say that she understood what I was going through, because she had the same problem with peaches. When she bought a basket of peaches, she couldn't stop eating them. Needless to say, it didn't make me want to talk to her about my struggles. Can you imagine? The idea here is to get your addicted loved one talking, not to come across as a know-it-all. I know how you feel, or I know what you're going through will probably not be well received. Try something more like, I've done some reading about addiction and I'm trying to understand what you're experiencing. I would really like to hear about what's on your mind and what your struggles are. The idea is to project that you're open-minded, non-judgmental, and truly wanting to understand. I suggest putting that information out there so that the addicted loved one is aware of your attitude, and leave it at that. I suggest not inviting them to talk because that might be perceived as being pushy. They'll come to you when and if they're ready. Trying to push won't speed that up. They must come to you with an open heart, ready to be honest and forthright. And that can only be done when they're ready. True. Say It Ain't So by Weezer. That song reminds me of Weezer. Hey. So this book is called, let me tell y'all what the book is called. I really like it so far. It's called Understanding and Helping an Addict and Keeping Your Sanity. And I have kind of just been jumping around on in the chapters, but there's another part I want to read to you guys that I did not even know this was a thing, okay? So it's called optimism bias, okay? So optimism bias, listen to this. It says, okay, as we discussed, this biased thinking is greatly magnified in the addicted mind. One of these biases is referred to as the optimism bias. It's quite bizarre that the addicted mind, which is characterized by pathological pessimism, would be capable of excess optimism, but it does so in only one area. This is the area. The persistent belief that addicts hold that one day they will be able to control or stop their substance use on their own, in their own way. What's especially bizarre about this belief is that addicts cling to it despite multiple failed attempts to stop or control their substance use in the past. Isn't that is like one of the main obsessions. That is the main obsession of addicts and alcoholics, and that we will chase that obsession into insanity or death, right? Like trying to find the magic combination. For example, let me tell you, when I was placed on probation in 2008, I was placed on a 3-year probation. Yes, it's called optimism bias. Optimism bias. I'll read you the definition again, okay? Okay. As we discussed, this biased thinking is greatly magnified in the addicted mind. One of these biases is referred to as the optimism bias. It's quite bizarre that the addicted mind, which is characterized by pathological pessimism, would be capable of excess optimism, but it does so in only one area, and that area is the persistent belief that addicts hold that one day they will be able to control or stop their substance use on their own, in their own way. What's especially bizarre about this belief is that addicts cling to it despite multiple failed attempts to stop or control their substance use in the past. So let me tell y'all a story, okay? I'm going to upload this video on my YouTube channel, just so y'all know. So when I was placed on probation in 2008, I was placed on a 3-year probation, right? And I passed my first drug screen. And then after that, it was all downhill. So the next drug screen I came into, I failed, right? And I failed for like opiates and benzos, I think. And she was like, if you keep on failing, I'm going to have to, revocate you and you'll go to prison. And I was like, nah, man, nah. Well, that's when I was on a mission. On a mission to find the magic concoction of how I could pass a drug test, how I could use drugs successfully without having negative consequences. And I was on an obsession mode, okay? Obsession mode of, well, I'll just drink alcohol. And that didn't work. Or I'll just do meth and then drink alcohol. I was just trying all these different combinations, and none of them would work. So, needless to say, I ended up getting revocated and going to prison. But I thought this was so cool. Okay, so listen, the optimism bias is pretty much universal among addicts. In fact, the 12-step program has even given this bizarre thinking a name, the insanity of addiction. This unfortunate cognitive bias is a factor in active addiction where people believe that they can stop their substance use on their own. And it's also a factor in recovery where people begin to believe that they can try drinking or drugging again, that this time they will be able to control it. So, it happens when we're in active addiction, where we think we can control our substance use, and it also happens in recovery, where we think we might be able to go back and try just one drink. It'll be different this time, right? I find that the best way to help addicts to overcome the optimism bias is through a powerful behavior changing technique that psychologists refer to as metacognition. Okay? Optimism bias. Okay, so this is how he says he helps people that have optimism bias. He says metacognition is just a big word for a simple concept. Making individuals aware of something they're doing but not aware of. So bringing to their attention the fact that they're doing this optimism bias because they're not aware of it. So bringing it to their attention. Metacognition is just a big word for a simple concept, making individuals aware of something they're doing but not aware of. Much of the optimism bias occurs automatically as the mind warps facts to align with what it wants to believe, simply by making people aware that this is a common symptom of the addicted mind. They can identify and challenge the flawed and dysfunctional thinking when it occurs. Addicts might be reluctant to accept this information, but if it's presented to them matter-of-factly, they may begin to accept it because they'll see it happening in themselves. I can literally, I can tell you examples of when I did that when I was in my active addiction, And there's even times now that I'm sober where I've thought I could return back to using and not have negative consequences. Thank you, Donna. Do you guys remember back around it was probably like October-ish, wherever I was going through that stage where I was thinking I could use methamphetamine in moderation? I mean, it happens to all of us, I think, Oh, you want me to give you an example of optimism bias? So what it's talking about is optimism bias in addicts when we're in active addiction is the belief that we will one day be able to drink and use drugs successfully without negative consequences. We'll be able to control our drinking and using. Let me give you an example of the times that I used to do that when I was in active addiction. The biggest time I can remember is when I was on probation, and that's whenever I was trying to control my drinking and using, and I was even trying to get it down to the point where I was only drinking for that whole time I was on probation, because I thought, if I'm only drinking, I won't fail a drug test, Well, that didn't work either. I failed a drug test for alcohol. So then what I did was I actually went to my doctor. This is so crazy. I called my sister and I was like, listen, I can't Norcos, benzos, Klonopin, and Soma, okay? When I got those three things, I went to my probation officer and I was like, hey, I've got my pills. I got my pills. And I was went on about my day. Well, when I came back for my probation appointment, she goes, I said, I'm going to pass. And she goes, why are you going to pass? And I said, because I got a prescription for my pills now. And that's when she looked at me and she said, oh, okay. Well, I need you to bring in the bottles so I can count the pills. Say what? Damn. She said, I need you to bring in the bottles so I can count the pills. Oh, hell. I was caught red-handed. So I had to go home and get my empty bottles, because y'all know they were gone after 3 days, and bring her back these bottles. And I filled them with aspirin and Tylenol and all kinds of bullshit like that. And I got in big trouble. That's when I went to treatment. So that was probably like my 4th or 5th failed drug screen. I'm fixing to go to sleep, Nate. That was probably like my 4th or 5th failed drug screen. So, you need to shut off the TV and everything, Nathaniel, in here. Like I said, that was my 4th or 5th failed drug screen, and she had had enough. She had had enough. So she ended up revoking my probation and sending me to prison. Now, this woman, she gave me many chances, about 6 or 7 chances before she finally revoked me. And when she revoked me, I was sent to El Dorado, Arkansas, to a prison called South Arkansas Substance Abuse Center. Oh, you're welcome, Allison. No problem, girl. No problem. But I got to tell you guys, I absolutely tried my hardest to manipulate my way, out of going to prison and out of getting failed drug tests by going and getting my own prescription. But the optimism bias was that I could control my using while on probation and get through probation while still using. And it's just so funny to me how, I went to the depths of the end of the earth trying to manipulate and manage my using so that way I could continue using. The smart thing to do would be like, okay, I'm on probation. I can't use, or I'm going to go to prison, so I just need to straighten my life up, right? No, there's a way. I know there's a way that I can make it this time, right? There's a way that I can use without getting in trouble, baby. Look at the pizzas we made. I made little pizzas homemade for Nate. And he loved it. Pepperoni, baby. Pepperoni. So, anyway, as you can see, whenever I find something that I am, like this book I've been reading, I really like it a lot. And whenever I like something that I can learn from, I like to bring it to you guys. Because for those of you guys that don't know, I'm trying to learn everything I can about addiction. So that way I can help people all over forever, And so the more I learn, the more I'm going to come and tell you guys. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't be drinking this, but I'm going to. Hey, Grenadian, what's up? Tomorrow I'll be on Facebook at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. You're welcome, Pam, anytime. And so when I learn this stuff, I'm going to learn with you guys. We're going to learn together. You know what I mean? Because I find it fascinating. I think it's so interesting how our brain responds to addictive substances and what happens to it over time. Which, next, I need to go back to chapter 5 because right now I'm on chapter 9, and I need to go through the effects that substances have on the brain, and because that is hella interesting, and I need to share it with you guys because y'all are going to be like, damn! It'll help you to understand so much better. Like, you know how people tell you, addiction's a choice. You chose to do that. All this stuff. Addiction's not a disease. When you read about how drugs and alcohol affect the brain, you will not think that. You will know that addiction is a disease, okay? And it will help you so much. It'll help you to understand, and it will also help you whenever, somebody tries to say some dumbass shit like that. It'll help you to, stand your ground and understand that, when you use substances over and over and over again for a prolonged amount of time, it affects your brain. It affects the way your brain operates, and it's very, very interesting to learn about, but it makes so much sense. So I still beat myself up about this. Hey, Miss Phillips, about the fact that I used drugs while I was pregnant, and I still, I'm very ashamed of that. But reading this book and reading about how, using drugs over a long time affects us, I understand why it was hard and I was unable to quit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not giving myself excuses or anything like that, but I see and I understand. So, I know y'all know what I mean. I see and I understand, so that way I don't beat myself up as bad. Like I said, I'm not giving myself an excuse, but I understand now because I understand what drugs and how they were affecting my brain, you know? Oh, the book is called, Understanding Understanding the Addict While Staying Sane. Something like that. It's called Understanding. I have to go look at it. It's Understanding the Addict While Staying Sane and Not Losing Your Mind or something like that. I'll get it in just a second. I made this for Nate. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, Warrior Mom. Most people who, a lot of people who have addiction have experienced trauma, but not all. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll tell you, for instance, when I was younger, I had a great childhood growing up. I wasn't abused or anything like that. But I did experience some traumatic events when I was younger. I was sexually molested when I was a little girl by this guy that was my grandma's helper in California. And I also was bullied a lot when I was in high school. My 8th or 9th grade year, I was bullied for my weight, which sucked. But then it turned around because I lost a bunch of weight. But yeah, trauma is a motherfucker. And I think a lot of people don't even know that they have experienced traumatic events, right? So let me give you an example. I was actually going through like just the thoughts and stuff from my childhood when I was a girl, and I was thinking about how my dad was always obsessed with his weight, right? And because my father was obsessed with his weight, me and my sisters were obsessed with our weight. We were always worried about being too fat, not being pretty, being ugly, One of the ways that my parents would punish us was through corporal punishment, spanking us. And my dad wasn't just like spank, spank. My dad would pop a belt. Okay, so I want you to imagine, my dad's like Sylvester Stallone, okay? He's a big-ass Italian dude that looks just like Sylvester Stallone from Rocky. And he's walking around the house coming to spank us, popping his belt, you know? And that was fucking traumatic. That was scary as hell. I love my dad. He's a great man. I forgive him. That was the past. Back then when I was growing up, that's what they believed was the right thing to do, was to spank and whoop you, right? But for me, that was traumatic. And so guess what? Growing up as a girl, I never felt safe to go talk to my parents. I never felt like I could go, hey, Mom, I'm struggling with yada, yada, yada. So when I started using and experimenting with drugs and alcohol, my mom and dad were the last people that I was going to go and talk to about that, because I was deathly afraid of them. I was afraid of getting fucking beat with the damn belt, you know? And like I said, my mom and dad are great people. I love them so much. They're good people. My dad didn't beat us, but he spanked us rather hard with that damn belt, and it was scary as a little girl. As a little girl that's like 5 years old, and I'm the oldest of my sisters. There's 3 of us. I had to protect all of us, and we would all go and hide in my room. It got to a point where my sister was so afraid to get whooped with the belt that she put pots and pans down her fucking pants, trying to have a pot, like a frying pan, on her butt so when she got spanked it wouldn't hurt. So, and I didn't realize that was trauma. So I'll be honest with you guys, like, I learned about trauma from TikTok, okay? Like, I have never really looked at that as me having traumatic experience, right? Now, I'll tell you some traumatic experiences I had while I was in active addiction. You know, when I was in active addiction, I was living with my friend, or somebody that I thought was my friend. And, who is that? Oh. I was living with a friend, somebody who I thought was my friend that scared the shit out of me. And, I was raped brutally by our roommate who I trusted. And it was the scariest thing that ever happened to me, honestly. Since I've been alive, it's probably the scariest thing. And I ran out of there and I totally blocked it out of my mind. Now you got to mind you, I was in active addiction. I was using drugs and alcohol. And so I just like pushed it to the farthest part of my mind and ran out of there. Well, then when I got sober, I'll never forget it. It was 7.5 years ago. 7.5 years ago, I was live on Facebook and I was sharing my story and I was sharing about that happening to me. And my mom came into the live stream. And my mom had never heard the story. I've never told her because, I didn't feel like I could talk to my mom and dad like that. Well, my poor mom comes in and that's the first time she hears about this traumatic rape that I experienced when I was in active addiction. And, she was so upset because she wanted to protect me. And she's like, we can call the police right now. And I was like, no, Mom, no, that's just going to make it worse. But I never dealt with that trauma until years and years and years after I got sober. It was like very, very traumatic. And then having my mom, hear me talking about it while I was sharing my story, not knowing that she was going to come on my live stream. I felt horrible. I felt horrible because I subjected her to that, without any kind of warning. And then I also felt horrible because I was not ready to share that with her, Learned about trauma from TikTok also. And then I realized I had experienced, yes, same, Lynette, same. So I feel like so many kids, but we blame ourselves for anything. Yeah, I don't know if I blame myself for my addiction. I mean, I had the disease of addiction before I ever put drugs and alcohol in my body. I was born this way. So whenever I was a little girl, and I can tell you guys examples of what I mean. So when I was a little girl, I always had like an extremist personality, not personality, but just extremist ways, right? It was not just 1 or 2, it was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Like I would take it to the next level, every single thing I did. If I was, eating chocolate cake, I would not eat just 1 piece of chocolate cake. I would eat 6 pieces of chocolate cake. If I was dancing on the dance team, this is a good example of something I did. I would practice 8 hours. My mom would sit there and watch me, and I would make her count till it was perfect. So that way, when I went to perform and compete, it was perfect because I did not want to be the one to mess it up when we went to competition because I was on the dance team. Whenever I played clarinet, I was second chair clarinet. And the only reason why I was second chair is because the damn motherfucker in front of me, Jessica Cahey, was a damn prodigy. Okay, but I was second chair, in the whole high school band on clarinet. But I would do everything extreme. So when I was growing up, I started to struggle with my weight, and I became addicted to food. Honestly, overnight, without even really realizing it, because food was such an integral part of my culture. With my father is Italian and my mother is Mexican. So growing up as a young girl, everything that we did was centered around celebrating with food. And honey, when I tell you, that was what my dad, when we have guests over, my dad is telling the guests, manja, eat, shut your mouths, no talking, let's eat, And so as a young girl, that's what he would tell me and my sisters, eat. And we would not be able to leave the table until we cleared our plates. Okay, so what did this do? This created we were overeaters. Well, then when we got to a point where we were overeating, then my parents put a deadbolt on the fucking refrigerator. So now we can't get into the refrigerator. So what does that create? That creates a feeling of not being able to get enough food, right? And so when I tell you guys my food trauma, my addiction and trauma around food is so deep. It is so deep, right? And so when people, talk about people that struggle with obesity is a disease, just like addiction is a disease. And some of our brains are just, like I said, wired differently than other people. So whenever I would take food in, whenever I would eat food, because of that, having to eat and not leave the table, and then having the food restricted from me, then I was like almost hoarding it and keeping it, putting it in my room to make sure that, oh my gosh, what if Dad locks the refrigerator and then I won't be able to get any? Do you know what I'm saying? And like I said, my mom and dad are amazing. I love them. My parents did the best that they could. They made some mistakes, but they're really good people, and I'm not mad at them at all. But I can remember these experiences, and I know that if I did that to my kid, it would ruin him. If there was a deadbolt on the refrigerator to my son, oh my God, he would freak out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like back then when we were younger, we were tough ass kids back in the 90s and the 80s. And even in the 80s and the 70s, because I was born in 82. Okay. Hey, April, what's up? I was born in 82. Okay, Mallory, I'll follow you so you can message me, okay? I was born in 82, and I feel like we were tough as fuck, But, yeah, I had some trauma experiences, like I said, with food, and so that's why now I'm a 40-year-old woman, and I'm just now starting to lose weight and get in shape. Like, I'm really trying hard, you guys, to eat healthy. I'm going to start going to the gym, and I'm going to take you guys on the live streams with me, because I'm embarrassed to go by myself. I don't want to go and work out alone, so I'm going to take you guys on live and make you guys work out with me, because I'm embarrassed. I haven't been to the gym in 20 years, since I was 20 something, and so I know I'm going to have a heart attack up in that motherfucker. Okay, girl, no problem. So I'm scared, but I know that it's the next step that I have to take if I want to get myself healthy. You haven't? Okay, that makes me feel a little better. Amber, thank you. I know that it's the next step. So my friend is getting the gastric sleeve, okay? Hey, Caitlin. Okay, girl. My friend is getting the gastric sleeve, and she's not even that heavy. She's like 240, and she's way taller than me. And I even told her, I said, why are you getting the gastric sleeve? You're not even that heavy. You could lose that weight. Like, I'm so afraid, you guys, of like getting it, going and doing that. I won't do it. I'm so afraid of that, because I'm afraid of complications happening. I'm afraid of, I'm just afraid. So I won't do that. So that's why I got to do this on my own, because I want to be alive. I want to be alive whenever my son is older. I want to be able to go and play outside with him and not get winded and, fall over. And this is really important to me. I have since 2020, that's when I gained most of my weight, was in 2020, when I came here to TikTok. And when I tell you guys, when I came here to TikTok and I had gained all my weight, people made fun of me. People were shaming me. It was so horrible. It was really, really hard to go through that, with people making fun of you for being overweight. But when that pandemic hit, I fucking did what I know best, and I just freaking ate and ate and ate. And I would find myself in the middle of the night in the kitchen, just binging, and then I would wake up and I would be so sick because I had binged all night long. And then I would feel so much shame, and I would be so embarrassed. And I didn't even want to take my clothes off in front of my husband because I was so embarrassed. Anyway, I went from 245 pounds to 200 pounds all by myself. So now I'm going to start going to the gym, and hopefully I'll go down from 200 to like 160. That's my plan. You did, April? Okay, then I can do it. Oh, thanks, Pamela. Listen to me. I don't know why I'm so afraid to go in and be judged by people. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. I'm afraid people will laugh at me. But I'm going to do it. Like I said, I was 245 pounds, and over the last, I started in July of last year, so it took me about 6 months, but I lost that 45 pounds little by little, inch by inch, and people didn't notice until just recently. People started to notice and say, oh my gosh, Nicole, your face looks skinnier, and I'm like, yeah, it is. But I'm telling you guys, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. You know why? It was harder than getting sober. Getting weight off of me was harder than getting sober. Do you want to know why? Because I can walk into the kitchen and I can get food out of the refrigerator anytime, day or night. No one can stop me from doing that. I'm not going to get my son taken away from me by CPS if I go to the refrigerator. You see what I'm saying? And so it was harder. I'm telling you, my food addiction has been harder for me to overcome than my drug addiction. Because with my drug addiction, I have things that motivate me to stay away from drugs. Do you know what I'm saying? But food is another story. I don't know how I can say. I have to eat every day, right? I have to eat to function. And so imagine something that is your trigger. Imagine that thing, you have to eat it. You have to take it into your body. It's not like you can just not eat, you know? And so it's just so hard. But I'm doing it. Now let me tell you what happened recently. So over the Christmas holiday, I fell back into my old ways, my old overeating ways, okay? And when I tell you guys, I ate a whole platter of lasagna all by myself. And it made me so sick, I thought I was going to die. Do you understand me? It was bad. So I ate that platter of lasagna. That debilitated me for 3 days. Okay, after 3 days, I got back up and around, and then I was eating freaking sugar cookies. I was eating pizza. Just bullshit. Just this week, just literally 3 days ago, I said, I have got to stop this. I'm going to gain back all the weight I lost. What am I doing? And so I've nipped it in the bud, and I'm back on track now. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going live a lot more now, because when I go live and I'm able to come on here and talk with everybody, it helps me to stay occupied. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because one of the reason why I will eat is not because I'm hungry. It will be because I'm bored. And so all I need is something to keep me occupied, and then I'll be fine. But I'm telling you, man, it's the craziest thing, because it's not like I'm starving or something at all, you know? Yeah, so whenever I started my YouTube channel in 2017, the reason why I started my YouTube channel back in 2017 was because I needed help staying accountable for being sober, right? And so starting my YouTube channel helped me so much, because I was sharing my story, people could relate to it, and I grew a little bit of a following over there. Well, sorry, my nose is really bothering me. That's exactly what my live streams do for me, and my eating is they help me to stay accountable. And then I also find people who are like-minded, who are on the same mission or on the same journey as me, is what I mean. So I'm not trying to become some kind of workout girl, but I just want to be healthy for my son. I want my son to be able to say, that's my mom, and not be embarrassed to point me out in a crowd. Do you know what I'm saying? I want my husband to look at me and be like, damn, she's fine. You know what I mean? And honestly, my husband is the sweetest man y'all will ever meet in your life. And he says things like that all the time. He tells me how much he loves me all the time. But still, I want to knock him off his feet. This year, I want to do one of those boudoir shoots, okay, for our anniversary. So this year will be our 11-year anniversary. 11 years together. Yeah, September 2023. And it will be 5 years that we will be married, okay? And so I want to get in shape where I can do one of those boudoir shoots and look sexy as fuck, you know? And then we have a pool here where I live now, and so I want me and my husband and my son to be able to go to the pool and me look good. What is that? Okay, girl, it's where a photographer and you get together and you get in your sexiest clothes, like lingerie. It could be any kind of clothes that are sexy to you, but I would do like lingerie, and then they position you like on a bed or like anywhere. They have all kinds of different ways they can position you to make you look so sexy, and then you can bring those pictures in like an album to your husband for a present. You know what I mean? But I really want to do that. Like, oh gosh, I think it must be so much fun. Yes. So, you know, I'm already tan, so I'll just like get me some, because I'm not going to tan in the tanning bed, you guys. I'm not going to do that anymore, because that's how I got this right here. It's from tanning in the tanning bed. I have to get that taken off. It's like a sunspot. But I'll use some tanning lotion or whatever it's called, sunless tanner, and get myself all tanned up. Thank you, Pamela. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Lynette. But that is going to be the goal, okay? So the goal is to stay on my weight loss journey and continue going forward so I can, 1, be healthy for my son, and 2, do a sexy boudoir shoot for my husband, okay? Oh, Michelle, I'm so sorry, girl. And remember, don't just do it for your husband, do it for yourself, because you deserve it. Absolutely. Yeah, so I've considered it, Lynette, but I'm afraid of it, okay? I'm afraid of it. And the reason why I'm afraid is because I have seen other people have complications, and I've seen other people, they tell me that their hair was falling out, and that scares me. Because one thing about me, you guys, Mallory, thank you, girl. One thing about me is, y'all might not know this, but this right here, this hair, it's like David and Goliath, right? This is my protection, okay? This is my comfort. Without my hair, I would feel like a naked mole rat, okay? People think tanning beds are safe. I lost my best friend to skin cancer because of them. You know, when I was growing up, you guys, my mom, I used to cry because the girls, when we were growing up, they would call me taco and burrito. And it would make me cry so much. It would hurt my feelings. And I remember my mom saying, Mija, just give it 10 years. All those bitches will be going to the tanning bed trying to look just like you. And I remember thinking my mom was crazy. She didn't know what she was talking about. Well, honey, let me tell you, she was right. Now it's like people want to be ethnic looking, you know. But back then, whenever I was growing up, I grew up in a very small country town. And so when I was growing, I wish, April. No, I speak broken Spanish. When I was growing up, I lived in a country town. And so people were very racist there. And they were even racist to us, the Mexican people there. Mexican Italian, but they would just call you Mexican. Moms are always right. That's right. Now my mom speaks fluent Spanish. My mother had to learn how to speak English. So when my mom was growing up, she was in school, kindergarten, and she went to answer the question, and she answered it in Spanish. And so what would happen, my mom went to Catholic school. My mom said that the nuns would slap her knuckles with a ruler anytime she tried to answer the questions in Spanish. And that is how she learned English. Can you imagine that? Oh, your husband's Colombian? Awesome. Hey, Matt. What's up, babe? So my mama is the sweetest lady, y'all. She's like, so if you met my parents, I look just like my dad, but if you met my mom and dad, my mom is like super sweet and chill, and my dad is like me. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like he's a talker. He's very, he's a people person, people pleaser, and we're exactly the same. Growing up, my dad also went to Catholic school, okay? And so he told me a story that it wasn't him that got in trouble, but one of his friends got in trouble. And you know what they made them do? They took the little boy, put him in the garbage can, the big green garbage can, and sat a dunce cap on his head, which was a tall, pointy hat that said dunce across it, and made him sit in that trash can with the dunce hat on through the whole period. And that's how they punished him. So, speaking of Sesame Street, did you guys see Sloan? I don't know if you guys watch Sloan on YouTube, but I do. He makes kind of gossip videos and stuff. Well, he made a video about Elmo, the guy who operates Elmo, supposedly sexually assaulted children on Sesame Street. It was very interesting. I watched it the other day. You love Sloan? Me too. I'm actually watching YouTube right now as I talk to you guys. There's this girl. I'll show you who I'm talking about. So for those of you guys that don't know, I love makeup. This girl's not like a huge beauty guru, but she has such good style. She just is a really stylish, her makeup choices are the kind of makeup choices I like, which are I really am into cream eyeshadows and really glittery, pretty eyeshadows and cream blushes, kind of natural skin is what I like, with really pretty glittery eyes. And so that's the way she is. So I always watch her stuff. One day, she asked me a question. I said, what? She's like, so April, listen to this. That's so crazy that you said that. My mom put me in Catholic school, but this was preschool, right? So I go to preschool and I get slapped across the face my first week in preschool at the Catholic school. And my mom said that I came home crying my eyes out, and she never made me go back. I went to a Christian school that was allowed to paddle you. They did it in front of the whole class. Yep. I slapped her back when my dad got home. He got caught. I cried. So imagine, this is what little Nicole had hair down to her butt, okay? And my mom would put them in these pigtails on either side of my head, 2 long black pigtails. And then I'll never forget it. I loved my favorite dress. My mom sewed all of our clothes when we were little, okay? So my favorite dress was this red and white polka dot dress with a little white collar with lace on it, my socks with lace, and my black patent leather Mary Janes. And I would wear that dress with my little black pigtails coming out, and I just thought I was hot shit. Oh, thank you. I don't know where I got these from, the glasses shop that Medical Arts and Optical, I think is what it's called. but my mom is a seamstress, and she actually sewed my best friend's wedding dress and all of our bridesmaid dresses, and it was a pretty big deal. Yes, I was a little black-haired pigtail. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my little talk about fear. It was just something that was like, I really, really, really like want to help people understand addiction more. Like, and I want to learn more. And so whenever I learn more about addiction, this is what I believe, okay? I believe that knowledge is power, okay? So I believe if you're somebody who struggles with the disease of addiction, that it should be your mission to learn everything that you can about the disease of addiction. So that way you can, like, you need to have all the knowledge about the disease that you're fighting, right? So for instance, if you had a cancer diagnosis, wouldn't you want to learn everything you can about the cancer that you're fighting? So that's exactly what I mean about us learning about addiction. Since we're fighting the disease of addiction, we all need to learn everything we can about it, you know? Since you're talking about fear, I got really sick about 3.5 weeks ago with an infection and almost went septic and died. Damn, Caitlin, are you okay now? And so that book, you guys can order it on Amazon. It's called Understanding an Addict and Keeping Your Sanity at the Same Time. And it's by Dr. Andrew Pollock or something like that. Oh, well, Caitlin, I'm so sorry. You did, Mama? Mama Other Crazies? I'm so sorry. Understanding an addict while staying sane at the same time. Let me grab it because I think I'm saying the wrong title. I mean, I know it's Understanding an Addict, but I don't think I'm saying it all right. What's Spanky? I'll be in here in just a second, so be ready, okay? Be ready to scoot your little boots over, little boy. Of course, my son is in my spot, little toot. Yeah, it's a good book for Al-Anon people. Yeah, it's actually for loved ones of addicts, but I got it because I help people that are loved ones, that are friends, that are people I just met. So I just wanted to get it because it was interesting. Okay, here it is. Understanding and Helping an Addict. There you go. Yeah, so this book is amazing, okay? Amazing. And it's from the standpoint of this Dr. Andrew, but Dr. Andrew is an addict in recovery. And it is good. When I tell you it is so good, it is so good. It is so good that it keeps, listen to me, it's hard for me to get my attention, and this book got my attention. Okay? So, I love it. And just so you guys know, like, my husband is also an addict. So, a lot of the times, like back in 2020, my husband had relapsed, okay? And so when he relapsed, I didn't know what I was going to do. And we were so codependent on each other, even though I had been sober for like, I had been 5 years sober at that point. Even though I had 5 years sober, I didn't know what to do. I was an emotional wreck. I contemplated using drugs so that way I could understand why he was using drugs. Like, it was crazy. It was outlandish. Like, I remember telling him, well, give me some. I'm just going to get high with you. And he was like, no. And I was like, And then I started to resent him because he was using drugs and I had to stay sober. Like, it was a whole shit show, okay? And I made huge mistakes that I should have known better. I should have known what to do because I should have known, right? I teach other people how to help their addicted loved ones, and I did the exact opposite of what I teach people to do. I flew off the handle. I started cussing and calling him a junkie and screaming and yelling and just being horrible, being mean to him. I took his debit card. I took his car keys. I took all of his stuff, and I started trying to micromanage him and fix, manage, and control him. And if you know anything, that does nothing. That pushes the person as farther into their addiction, right? And I thought I was saving him, right? I thought, I'm saving him. He won't lose his job. He won't hurt somebody else. Well, guess what I was doing at the same time? I was keeping him from experiencing the consequences of his actions. I was enabling him to continue using, and I didn't even know it. I was literally saving him from wrecking his car, saving him from getting fired from his job, saving him from, spending all of our money out of our bank account. So this went on for about 5 months, okay, where I was just like crazy, like managing him, right? And then all of a sudden I was talking to my friend Ann on the phone. She's an older lady, and she's been through this before. And she said something about codependency, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's when I knew I had to let go. And so I went home. My husband came home. I gave him his keys back. I gave him his debit card back. And I told him that if he came home high, then he might as well not bother. Just go to his mom's house, because I don't want my son seeing him like that. And, whatever. As luckily, Neil was working the late shift at this time. So by the time he would get home, Nathaniel would be already asleep. So I was so thankful for that. But I stopped everything. And this was like December 20th of 2020. I stopped everything. I said, man, I give up. When I tell you guys, 2 days later, he was fired from his job. And he got sober. Do you understand that I basically was I made that drag out for 5 months? If I had done all of that at the beginning, if I had just allowed him to experience the consequences of his actions, if I had just allowed him to take his car and drive it into a brick wall, or go into his job so fucked up that they fired him, or take all the money out of our bank account and spend it, if I had just allowed for what to happen, naturally to happen, it would have all been over. But no, I had to try and manage it. I was so consumed with obsessing over making sure that I was totally running his life. It was absolutely disgusting. It was depressing too. And no wonder he just kept on using drugs. I would have too, But anyway, the minute I let go, you guys, thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate y'all. The minute I let go and I stopped being micromanager, he got sober. He lost his job. That showed me so much. It showed me about how much I was enabling him to continue because I was saving him, and I'll tell you guys this is between you and me. That's what my husband has always had done. His family has always saved him from himself, saved him from his consequences. And so the fact that I actually stopped and let go and let him experience the consequence was huge for him and for me, because he had never had that happen. He had never had, anyone, his family, anyone say, you know what, I'm not going to save you anymore. I'm not going to call into you to your job for you. I'm not going to pay your car payment this month. I'm not going to, lie to your wife for you. Oh, that's great, Cosmo. Um, but I'll tell you right now, it's the hardest. That was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. But you know what? After that, it was like after that, my husband was choosing recovery. I wasn't making him stay sober anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? When we first got sober, we got sober because our son got taken away. And of course, I got sober right away because, I gave birth to our son. It's different for a man, right? And so I felt like I was always choosing recovery for him, right? I felt like I was always making him recover, stay sober, right? And so it didn't surprise me whenever he relapsed, because I felt like he didn't want to really be there in the first place, right? But now it's totally different, and it's so much better. And now that we have our own place, like where we live in our own place. So for those of you guys that don't know, me and my husband, we rented a home from my mother-in-law for like 10 years. Okay. And so his mom. And so that enabled my husband for 10 years to basically be comfortable in that setting where, I'm living in my mom and dad's old house, the house that I grew up in. I can fuck up a little and it won't really matter. You know what I'm saying? And so for 10 years, I was miserable living in that house. I wanted to move out every single day. I begged him all the time, please let us. And I knew that he was afraid. I knew that us moving into our own home was a scary thing for him, because he has never fully been disconnected from mommy. I've been disconnected from my parents since I was 18 years old. They kicked my ass out when I started getting high. We have such different parents. My parents put me out right away. His parents did the opposite. And so he's always had that cushion to fall back on. Well, now we are in our own place. And I tell you this, my husband, he's not depressed. He doesn't have these like outbursts where he gets like angry out of nowhere. He used to get these like little rages, I would call them. And now you can tell that he feels more confident. And that's exactly what it is. He feels more confident because this is his own spot where nobody's taking care of him. We paid rent to my mother-in-law, but when I tell you guys, it was still like she lived there basically, because she would come by whenever she wanted to. Thank you, Tammy. She was just the worst landlord that you could ever have in your whole entire life. When our stove went out, she never replaced it. Like, she was horrible. And when I tell you, this woman, she got some money, but she is just such a tight-ass penny pincher. But anyway, it was like a thing with him and his parents where they weren't letting him grow. They were not letting go of him either, though. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so you should see it. Now that we live in our own place, it's bless her heart. Bless her heart. My mother-in-law calls my husband all the time. And I'm just like, that would drive me insane if my mom did that with me, because, like, you know what I mean? But anyway, my husband is so much more confident now, and I can see it in him, and I can tell because he's taking care of us. He's all 100% taking care of us. Me and him are doing this on our own now, and it makes us feel so much better. I don't know what it is about it, but when you're paying rent to your in-laws, it's just like, that if you fall back a little bit or you're late on your payment, that you're not going to get evicted. Do you know what I'm saying? And so here where we live now, like, we know we pay our rent on the first of the month, and we pay it right then, so that way we know we're all good, and we're putting back money so we can get a house. But that's probably going to be a while because of the market and everything. But just so much has changed, you guys, for me and my husband in our recovery. And I can literally tell you guys, like, my husband went from not wanting to be sober to being high to finally getting sober and being happy to now being like on his own, and I can tell that he feels better. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, a man has the need to like take care of his family, right? It's like a primal, it's inside of them, right? And so when you have like a woman who is too domineering and like overbearing, like that can make a man feel like insecure and shit, you know? And so I think that's kind of like what it was like when we were living underneath my mother-in-law's roof, because my mother-in-law still had her little on us, you know? But now my husband can stand on his own 2 feet, and I'm just so proud of him. He's doing a really good job. He wakes up every morning, you guys, at like 5 o'clock. He takes both of our dogs downstairs to go potty. Then he comes upstairs and he starts coffee, and he gets ready for work. He's just doing a good job. I'm proud of him. I work from home, so I don't have to leave the house. Which is why we're going to start going to the gym this week. You and me. Y'all are going with me. Because here where I live, all I got to do is walk down the stairs, go that way, and then that way, and there's a gym. So I'll take y'all there to see it tomorrow. It's going to be fucking badass. I've never been in the gym, but it's going to be cool. We'll do it together. But anyways, I've been talking too much. Thanks, Tana. I appreciate you, baby. Thanks, Mama. Thanks, Kaden. I hope you guys enjoyed my little show today. I am going to download this live and put it on YouTube, because I know a couple of you guys wanted me to, because of the beginning and everything about fear. If you guys are interested in coming to the live stream tomorrow, I will be live over on, I'm going to write it down. I will be live on my Facebook page, which is Discovering Nicole Pludre, which is my last name. Okay, all you got to do is come over to my page, give it a like, and then I will be on at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'll probably come over here and throw a video up and say, hey guys, I'm about to go live. Thank you, Kaden. I appreciate that. And you guys can, like I said, y'all can share the lives, invite anybody you want to invite over. And like this video will go on my YouTube. So any live streams I do at night on TikTok, I download them and I put them on my YouTube channel. So if you ever wonder like, oh man, I missed Nicole's live from the other night, it's on my YouTube, okay? And my YouTube is up there in my bio. Just click it and you'll see a little YouTube, a little symbol. Click that and it'll take you to my YouTube. I got thousands of videos, hour-long videos on my YouTube channel. I live in Little Rock, Arkansas. I was born in Long Island, New York, but I only lived there till I was like 2 or 3, and then I came to Arkansas. But now I'm going to go lay my old ass down. I really had a good time, though, on this live with you guys. I really, really did. So thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Discovering Nicole Pludre on Facebook.